John Kramer, an architect who uses his gift to design death traps which are testing his victims' will to live, is battling late-stage brain cancer. When there is no hope of recovery through conventional medicine, John learns of an experimental method practiced by the daughter of renegade Dr. Finn Peterson, Cecilia. Having entered her program, Kramer arrives in Mexico, where he undergoes a successful operation. At least, that's what John is led to believe, until he discovers that the whole thing was a giant scam aimed at extracting money from a dying man. A frustrated Kramer organizes a game for the con artists, with their lives as the stakes. There was no doubt that Saw would become a long-running franchise after the first movie introduced a powerful concept. The victims of the maniac try to free themselves from clever traps that force them to mutilate themselves or endure terrible pain in exchange for the most precious thing they have, life. The creators of the franchise could have stretched out several sequels simply on a head-on repetition of the original movie's formula, but they chose a more complex and interesting path, eventually building up a delicate web of events and relationships that eventually turned Saw into an intricate and elaborate horror cycle with many cross-cutting characters and parts that are not so easy to even simply put in chronological order, because some of them take place simultaneously. Saw 10, as it's easy to guess, is the 10th installment of the franchise, but chronologically its events unfold between the first two films. John Kramer, who died in the third part of the franchise, in Saw 10 is not only alive, but for the first time in the history of the cycle is not a gray cardinal who manipulates other people from behind the curtains, but a full-fledged protagonist, through whom we enter the story and through whose eyes we watch the participants of the next game. Game participants were not always decent people in previous parts of Saw, but in the 10th picture Kramer's test will be passing the real scumbags, a company of swindlers who do not just make money on other people's grief, but take away from dying people the only thing they have left, hope. For the 10th installment of the series to find such an unexpected angle of the story is a big deal, and for Saw as a franchise it's especially important, because the previous movie, Spiral, created with the help of comedian Chris Rock, a big fan of the series, was just plain terrible. Saw 10, in turn, gives fans of the cycle everything they love, a twisted plot, replete with unexpected turns and difficult moral dilemmas, needy characters and a series of bloody trials for everyone, including, by the way, even Kramer himself. Trials here, however, are not at their best. For 20 years of the franchise's existence, we have seen traps much scarier and more inventive. In general, as a traditional brutal torture porn for Halloween, which Saw has always been, the 10th film of the cycle is not disappointing, but it still can't be put on a par with the best films of the franchise. Anyway, Tobin Bell, a brilliant character actor, noticed by movie producers little too late, brilliantly seized the chance to reveal his character not just as a ruthless killer with a cold eyes, but as a man of flesh and blood.